name is Allie and I'm from Canada, British Columbia, Canada. I moved here in '99 and noticed that it was a little tiny fishing town. There was only about 900 people that lived here, and it was a nice little community. And Hurricane Keith came, it was catastrophic, and that devastated the island. And thankfully, we had a lot of mangroves there to buffer the storm damage, even though there was still a lot of storm damage. There was water 3 feet deep across the whole island. After the hurricane, things got better for the community because the electricity got redone, we got running water, we got just a safer place. And then we're a backpacking island, and people were going to San Pedro and coming here, and we got the stragglers kind of thing. And then it became like a mecca for backpackers. Eventually, I became a tour guide, and I worked with Ragamuffin Sailing. I was the only female sailor, of course. Always breaking those barriers. And I noticed, a lot of people were interested in mangroves, not just the reef, because the reef, everybody hypes the reef, the seagrass, the blue hole. But there's a quieter side to the island, and a very important ecosystem for everything. Like everything is symbiotic and connected, from the seagrass to the mangroves to the reef and beyond. I began doing kayak tours through the mangroves, and it was really, really fun. Lots of birds. I got a chance to explain to my guests, the importance of mangroves. I decided to stop doing the tours because the mangroves were getting cut down, and I had to go further and further and further to find a healthy ecosystem with all these creatures in it. And after a while, I said, to heck with this. I came around a corner where I had planted mangroves in 2001, and half of them were cut down. I started crying during my tour, and I just made up my mind right there. I'm not doing this anymore. It's breaking my heart. I'm going to start planting mangroves, seriously. So we planted probably 3,000 mangroves. I personally planted probably another 4,000 off that, all on the Keys. Planted in Placencia, planted in Belize City. And it got known that I was this planter, Mangrove Mama. I just started falling in love with growing them, started falling in love with teaching people about them, reached out to the community when I had my projects, and we did a lot of nursery walk tours and education center, and it was really, really fun. We had posters of who lived in the mangroves, why they're important, why they matter. They're important all over the world because their carbon sinks. And once they take in carbon, they don't let it go unless they're cut down and removed. They store more carbon along with the corals and the seagrass than the Amazon forest. But not only that, they're terribly important for, as I mentioned, juvenile ecosystem for all the fish that people see at the reef. So certainly juvenile fish are food for other predators, so you're not going to see those either. The whole food chain breaks down. So that's important for our fishing industry. Seagrass beds are important for our lobster and conch industry as well. They protect our coastline by being a buffer for high wave event and storm events, and also filter runoff before it reaches the reef, kind of thing. It prevents erosion from rainfall. It holds everything together. It works both ways. It's the last terrestrial filter for water before it reaches out of the reef. And unfortunately, it actually accumulates a lot of the plastic. Belize has also made a commitment to the world, exchanging our national debt for blue bond. And so we do have a commitment to plant 4,000 hectares. Anything we plant, I take the data on, and I pass it on to our forestry department. Even if it dies and I have to replace it, that's also part of the data. Why are they dying? Usually climate change. It took a little bit of doing some PR around town to get everyone straightened out. And now got the fisheries and forestries behind me, WWF. They actually hired me as a support facilitator for training that they did with their NGOs. I'm happy just being a guerrilla planter, without permission, just slam them in the ground. And I wish everybody would do it. They're easy to plant, but really hard to keep alive. It takes years for them to establish their prop roots. I think 6 years to maturity where they can actually flower, but they're still small. They only live, 100 years? if there's nothing being planted and they're not blooming and making babies and naturally generating mangrove forests, we have to do it for them. We are trying to be a part of the ecosystem. We don't want the ecosystem to go away or else we will go away. Kids, man, I love kids. They're just so great. They're little sponges, they're fun, they're little scientists. Everything they do is an experiment, from picking up sand to stomping in puddles. It's all very cool. They're all really great. I had an opportunity to start with Ocean Academy High School. Very, very pleased to be coming into a classroom, and even though I was really nervous talking to all these young faces, they were really, really into it and asked some really good questions. They knew a little bit about mangroves already, so it wasn't hard to do, but I was so pleased. And then they asked to do some planting, so that's what we're going to get involved with tomorrow. So that'll be the first time I'm working as in restoration with Standard 6 kids. So they're 13, 14 years old. The only thing I can do is try to rub off a little bit on them. But, Caye Caulker's full of fantastic mentors. There's one on every corner, right? And so the kids are in good hands. I'm happiest when it's a nice cool day like this, meeting people. I'm happiest really when I'm got my hands in the dirt, planting. And I'm really happy when I'm working with children and doing all of that at the same time.